beaver, brick, children's nightmare, call it what you want, but in retrospect, the BMW iX is not as ugly as we first thought. And following the recent facelift, it is the first BMW to exceed the range of 700 kilometers on a single charge. So let's see what's what. I compared the BMW iX against the Xpeng G9. Channel members can watch this review early and without ads.
The BMW iX is a mid-size electric SUV. It debuted in mid-2021, so by 2025 it was high time for an LCI, Life Cycle Impulse, or Bavarian for facelift. From the beginning, the car was controversial because the modern interpretation of the iconic kidney radiator grille was not to everyone's taste. Besides, what radiator grille? It's an EV. The internet was buzzing that BMW's current design language is a nod to the Chinese market because no one in Europe will want something like that. 3 people of Chinese descent were indeed involved in designing the iX, and the SUV found over 130,000 buyers around the world. Mercedes would probably love to boast similar sales figures for the EQS and EQE SUVs, but it can't.
BMW design makes the iX a statement. Meanwhile, competing models from Mercedes resemble generic Chinese SUVs. If you're buying a BMW or a Mercedes, you want a BMW or a Mercedes, not a fake Tesla.
Has anything changed visually? Apart from the glowing halo around the grille, I didn't notice anything new. And what about the performance? Well, something's changed in this area. Let's go! At launch in 2021, there were 2 versions of the iX, the xDrive 40 and the xDrive 50. The former had 326 horsepower and a claimed range of around 400 kilometers, and the latter had 523 horsepower and a claimed range of around 600 kilometers. The basic model had a 71 kWh traction battery and could accept up to 150 kilowatts DC. The more powerful variant had a 105 kWh battery and could take up to 195 kilowatts.
I drove the iX X40 around Poland in the fall and it was a mess, but that was mainly due to the state of infrastructure back in 2021. Then in the winter of 2022 I took the iX xDrive 50 to the Alps, and after struggling to get through Poland and Czechia, I drank the EV Kool-Aid they serve in Western Europe. Every few dozen kilometers, charging stations were plentiful and powerful. The only limitation was the car's ability to accept power. 3.5 years later, we have maybe 50 such powerful charging stations around Poland. Most of them are located in large cities and not along the main routes. But because the refreshed BMW iX has increased battery capacity and improved efficiency, it should be able to go further than before the facelift. After all, BMW talks about a range of over 700 kilometers. Yes and no.
The base version is now called the xDrive 45. It has more than 400 horsepower and a promised range of up to 602 kilometers. The range has increased because the traction battery now has almost 95 kilowatt-hours capacity. The mid-spec, which I'm reviewing today, has been promoted from xDrive 50 to xDrive 60. It received additional 4 kilowatt-hours and 21 horsepower, and now has a range of up to 701 kilometers. BMW states the range brackets from 563 to 701 kilometers, so the higher value is of course achievable in optimal conditions. The significant data point is energy consumption: 21.9 kilowatt-hours per 100 kilometers in the combined cycle and 27.1 kilowatt-hours per 100 kilometers on the motorway. We are talking about WLTP values, so slightly over 130 kilometers per hour.
Now let's divide 109 kilowatt hours by the energy consumption BMW provides, and we get less than 500 kilometers in the combined cycle and up to 402 kilometers on the motorway. If we subtract 30 percentage points from this because we fast charge between 10 and 80%, we are left with 350 and 280 kilometers respectively. For comparison, when I drove the iX xDrive 50 to the Alps in the winter, I estimated a safe range between fast charges between 250 and 300 kilometers. I don't know how the refreshed iX will behave in the winter. For now, in my unscientific combined cycle, I'm getting 21.3 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, much less in the city, where I see a chance for 700 kilometers, and much more on the motorway, where hitting 400 kilometers may be a challenge.
BMW claims a time from 0 to 100 km per hour of 4.6 seconds. I checked and managed to achieve 4.3 seconds both in sport and normal mode. The BMW iX is so monstrously fast, powerful and accelerates so rapidly that I actually don't feel what the sport mode does, except maybe changing the sound generated inside the vehicle. And the sound is very well matched to the sensations that the iX provides, both in a straight line and in the corners.
It shouldn't be possible for a 2.5-ton SUV to corner so quickly and with such agility, but BMW has proven more than once that their cars outperform competition dynamically, even if it's a front-wheel drive minivan. Of course, I take into account the fact that I'm testing the car in June when the weather is ideal. In winter on slippery surfaces, the iX requires gentle use of the accelerator pedal.
The rear-wheel steering system ensures BMW iX's agility. Depending on the speed, the rear wheels turn sideways in the same or the opposite direction as the front wheels, thus increasing stability or tightening the turning radius. The BMW iX does not have an off-road mode, but since it's an all-wheel drive setup, here's my diagonal approach test. In these conditions, there is no problem. It might be more challenging during the winter. The suspension is so great that I curbed 2 rims. I tackled an obstacle with a bit too much optimism. The soundproofing is sensational. The visibility for such a big car is excellent, and the 360 camera allows you to get through tight gaps. In addition, there is a parking assistance system which allows you to save a series of maneuvers in a given location, or it can reverse along your tracks for the last 200 meters.
But that doesn't change the fact that the BMW iX is a car that can't decide what it's for. On the one hand, the relatively low energy consumption in the city and resulting phenomenal range mean that the iX may be of interest to people living in apartment buildings who don't have access to a permanent charging spot. On the other hand, a 2.5-ton SUV measuring almost 5 meters long and almost 2 meters wide should not be allowed into any European city, just like a well-used diesel-powered car with DPF removed a long time ago. While BMW iX motorway range is decent for an EV, it is far from that offered by an X5 or an X7 on long distances.
To my eye, the interior remains unchanged. Comfortable seats, large door pockets, large cup holders, a wireless charger that charges rather slowly, a wide panel with 2 displays which is curved towards the driver, an average size compartment under the armrest, and a small glove box. I will not talk about the BMW OS 9, I've talked about it in length in many BMW reviews, more about the BMW iX cockpit in my older videos, to which I link in the video description. At first glance, nothing has changed except for the software version. There is still a lot of legroom in the back, including for the passenger traveling in the middle. The floor is flat and the center console has a deep cut, allowing an adult to set feet on the floor comfortably. The boot is 500 liters in 5-seat configuration and 1750 liters with the second row folded. The backrest splits 40-20-40. There are buttons to fold down the second row seats and 1 shopping bag hook. The underfloor storage is enough for charging cables, but the parcel shelf does not fit underneath it. And there is no frunk.
BMW still doesn't want us to look under the bonnet, but there are two hidden pull cords in the front footwells. There's not even a support rod thingy, so you probably have to use a special service tool. Now, looking at there we go, safety third. Looking at this whole thing, somehow I'm not surprised that BMW prefers to show us its beaver than the whatever that is.
Prices of the refreshed BMW iX start at €83,500. This test car is an xDrive 60 with options. It costs €125,715.
The BMW iX is a very comfortable car designed for the wrong environment. If you like to sit in a traffic jam behind the wheel of a large SUV, this is the car just for you. Only, if possible, order the smallest rims available because there are too many curbs in the city. And what do you think about the refreshed BMW iX? Do you like large SUVs? Do you drive them in the city or rather road trip them? Let me know in a comment section below.
If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, join me every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video as it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.